Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
Betsy's Boutique at 105 High Avenue West in Oskaloosa has uniquely different women's clothing from casual to dressy and everything in between. Betsy's biggest sale of the year is Small Business Saturday, November 30th, starting that day at 9 a.m. with their biggest discounts of the year, doorbusters, and giveaways to the first 100 customers to check out. Don't miss Small Business Saturday, November 30th at Betsy's Boutique, 105 High Avenue West, Oskaloosa. Experience Oskaloosa presents Pink Friday. This Friday, November 22nd. Doors open at 10 a.m. in Oskaloosa at Untamed Nutrition, Stepping Stones and Eagle's Nest, Stella's Salon and Boutique, Shop Jen Miracle, Salvage Designs, Muse Music Store, LaRue and Company, Hunter's Gifts and Cafe, Aesthetics by Lily, Brushed by Jude, Book Vault, Betsy's Boutique, and Barn Swallow Flowers. Check out these stores for more details. Pink Friday is a nationwide event dedicated to celebrating and supporting small and local businesses. And be sure to sign up for the Pink Friday giveaway basket valued at over $700. Experience Oskaloosa with Pink Friday this Friday starting at 10 a.m. The Brooklyn Opera House in Brooklyn, Iowa presents live music on Wednesday, November 27th at 7 p.m. with Jake Simon and Blake Jack. Tickets are $25 in advance or $30 at the door. For more information, call 641-522-2424 or use the QR code on the screen. It's two of Iowa's finest country music acts, Jake Simon and Blake Jack. Wednesday, November 27th at the Brooklyn Opera House. Steve Shetler Media presents Santa Steve's Stocking, a prize package valued at $1,000, $500 in cash, and $500 in gift cards from participating businesses. Please clearly print your name and phone number on your registration slips. One registration per person per business. Businesses have the option to require an in-store purchase in order to register. One winner will be randomly drawn from all the registrations from all the businesses on Friday, December 20th. In Oskaloosa, you can register at Julie's Homestyle Cafe, Shop Jen Miracle, Aesthetics by Lily, Betsy's Boutique, Stam Garden Center and Nursery, Brushed by Jude, Eagle's Nest Christian Bookstore, Mahaska Drug, and Oski Dental. In Lighton, register at Tassel Ridge Winery. In New Sharon, at Style Me Crazy. And in Sigourney, you can register at Casey's, Sinclair Napa, Barnwire, Brothers Market, Sigourney TV and Appliance, Colbert Feed, Copper Lantern, Sigourney Mercantile, and the Garden Gate. Register now and maybe win big just in time for Christmas with Santa Steve's Stocking.
Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast, about 9 o'clock, November 20th. Wrapping up college football season, getting closer. 2 weeks left for everybody. We got one this Saturday and then the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and then the conference championship games, then the playoffs. The selection committee will make their picks. That's where we want to start tonight with the playoff selection committee. And I believe I named this, the playoff committee has lost its mind or something like that. I can't remember exactly what I wrote. I wrote that out a little bit ago. And it's a tough job. It's not easy. I get it. But it is becoming, we knew this was coming, that ESPN and SEC are in bed together. And it's a huge conflict of interest in all of this. But it has become abundantly clear that this is an SEC swayed situation and playoff. The Big Ten is okay right now, but it will be interesting to see what happens if Indiana gets beat by 20 or more. If they win the game or they keep it really close, what's going to happen? But if they lose by 20, and if Indiana falls like a rock, you know what they're trying to do. And my biggest complaint, and yes, I have Big 12 biased, is SMU is ranked ahead of BYU, and BYU went to Dallas and beat SMU. So that game doesn't matter. I mean, They say the committee moves the goal. I guess that's the biggest thing. The committee moves the goalpost every time. They manipulate it. I mean, here's what's going to happen: is one of those 2-loss SEC teams is going to get into the championship game and lose and have 3 losses, and they're going to get in over somebody with 1 and maybe 2 losses, just because they got to the championship game and they're in the SEC. Now, nowhere in that do I say the SEC is not the best conference in football. It is. It's by far and away the deepest on the best teams in the conference. You can put 6, 7 teams of the SEC as probably 6 or 7 of the top 25 teams in the country. I completely agree with that. The Big Ten is very, very top heavy. I think the first 4 teams, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana so far, has proven, I mean, when you're undefeated, you deserve to be there. And then Penn State with their 1 loss to Ohio State, that's a whole different argument that we have had many times, that Penn State can beat everybody but somebody good. But after those top 4 teams, I think the Big Ten is bad. I think they're really bad. And the Big 12 is eating each other up right now for the most part. And we kind of predicted that earlier in the year. Everybody was like, well, the BYU is running the table. Well, if I had to make a guess right now, I'm going to say BYU doesn't even get to the championship game, which is crazy to think about, but that would be my prediction right now. I don't think they even get there. I think it's going to be Colorado, Iowa State, or Arizona State, 2 of those 3 teams that will get there. I want to welcome in Trevor. That was kind of my 2-minute rant there for the playoff committee to start. Let you go rant about it a little bit and your feelings about it, and then we'll discuss.
The biggest takeaway I had was the Big 12 is only getting 1 team in. They're all ranked low. BYU, whatever their ranking was, I didn't have it written down, but all the Big 12 teams are ranked low,
14.
but there are 4 of them.
Yeah.
My second biggest takeaway, I think Penn State's the most overrated team in the nation. I don't think they should be ranked where they are. Indiana, I don't know. I just don't know what to make it.
Indiana could be, but we just don't know yet.
We don't know. James Franklin, I've seen enough over the years. They beat the bad teams, what you're supposed to do, but they can't beat the top teams. I think Penn State's overrated. Indiana, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because we haven't seen it yet. Kurt Snetti is his first year. If he'd been there 5 or 6 years, it'd be a different story. So I think Penn State's the most overrated. I almost think Notre Dame, that bad loss that they did have, but if you look at their wins, they actually have an okay resume in a way. So I don't know what to make of Notre Dame. They're not going to win the national title. We know that. They're just not going to. But, yeah, the Big Ten, I think there's 2 legit teams in the Big Ten, maybe 3 or 4. And at the end of the day, though, I think the SEC is going to get 5 teams in, though.
Yep, I agree. I will give Indiana I actually think Indiana right now is getting hosed. If you took away the IU, their emblem, their identity as Indiana football, and you replace that with Ohio State or Michigan or Texas, or they would be number 1 in the country. I have no doubt in my mind. Maybe number 2 behind Oregon. Oregon's undefeated as well. But if they were Ohio State, they would be number 1 or number 2 in the country with the same schedule. Now, I did see this. So I was watching right when we got on before we hit record here. I was watching McAfee from today, just highlights about the playoff. And I want you – this is the problem with the playoff and the problem with big conferences. I'm going to pull up this on my phone. I took a picture of it. There it is. So number 3, 4, and 5, which is Texas, Penn State, and Indiana. That's ranked 3, 4, and 5. This is the ESPN highlight thing, and their key wins. So I would say this is their best wins. Texas at Vanderbilt at Arkansas. Are either one of those 2 even ranked? I don't believe so. No,
Vanderbilt was, but Vanderbilt's a decent win.
Right. But no top 20 teams. Penn State, their key wins, Illinois at home, at Wisconsin. Two awful football teams, I think. I don't. Wisconsin got killed by Iowa, and Iowa's not good either. And then Indiana, Michigan, and Washington both at home. Now, going into the year, that's the two teams that played for the national championship last year, so you'd think they were good, but those are two teams that are god-awful. That there's questions that Michigan's going to fire their guy not even through an entire year. That's how bad they are. I mean, those – and yet BYU, who has one loss, which is like Texas, like Penn State. Now, the problem is their loss is not – I will say this. Texas's loss is to Georgia, who's very, very good. And Penn State's loss is to Ohio State, who is very, very good. And Indiana hasn't lost yet. But you have – do they want win? Are they looking at the record or are they looking at the wins? Because if they're looking at the record – they're just fine. 3, 4, 5. I have no problem with them being there. But then if they're looking at the record, then Georgia has to be lower. Alabama has to be lower. If the record matters. Then if they're looking at key wins, then Georgia should be up there. Alabama should be up there. I don't, and then these teams should be down farther. That's we don't know what the committee is looking for. And I don't know what they are, if they know what they're looking for. That's the argument. Are they looking at the wins or are they looking at the record?
This is exactly what they're looking for. They're keeping us guessing. This is what they want. They don't want people to know what they're looking for because it creates drama. They know exactly what they're looking for the final week of the season, in my opinion, or after the final week, I should say.
They want the best TV product.
They know what they're looking for. This is what they're looking for right now is debates, anger. People don't say they don't know what they're doing. The committee knows exactly what they're doing. This is all a show. This is telling me that 4 Big Ten are going to get in, 5 SEC, 1 ACC. There's not going to be 2 ACC teams. Oh, not a chance. There's going to be 1 Big 12 and then Notre Dame if Notre Dame keeps winning. That's what it's going to be. So to me, this is all just drama being drawn out. And, if you were to ask me if I could take away from how the committee does it, who are the 4 best teams in the country, if I could seed it, I'd put Oregon 1, I'd put Alabama 2, Georgia 3, Ohio State 4. That's how I'd seed it.
Yeah,
now,
I don't disagree with that.
5 through 12 is a different. I haven't thought about 5 through 12, but if you ask me the top 4 teams, it'd be Oregon, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia would be my top.
And you could really rank them however you want.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, I don't think there's, and that is some of the problem this year. I don't think there is a clear cut number 1, number 2 team. Oregon only beat Boise State by 3 at home. They struggled with Wisconsin last week. Oregon, Ohio State, Oregon pulled it out. Ohio State's 1-point loss on the road to the number 1 team in the country. McAfee was saying as well that if Ohio State beats Indiana this weekend, they have a 64% chance of winning the Big Ten or getting a bye. I think he said getting a bye. Well, that means that there's a 64% chance that they beat Oregon. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I give them a heck of a chance to beat Oregon. I mean, it's a coin flip.
Yeah, that's going to be a coin flip game if they end up playing, which they probably should, as most of us expect. Ohio State, again, I know I just said they'd be one of my top 4, but their quarterback situation scares me a little bit when it comes to a big game. I think if I don't know if you had written down what the playoff had for the beginning games, but it does seem like this is sort of getting sidetracked. It does seem like most of the country, though, is looking forward to the Southern teams going north.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking forward to that. National sports media is talking about that, which I like. I think you like it too, speaking for you. But that is something that everybody kind of seems to agree on because over the last 10 to 20 years, these Southern teams, they play these neutral site games per se, and they're not.
Yeah, they're neutral. And if they do travel north, they go play in a dome in Indianapolis or somewhere like that. Now, I'll give Alabama credit. They played at Wisconsin this year. That's a little bit different. So I'll give them a little bit of credit this year. But historically, they don't. They'll go play in Atlanta or in the Superdome in New Orleans, which technically home games, or they go play in Jerry World. But teams from the South refuse to go north. in general. I remember a few years ago, Georgia went up to Notre Dame and played. And it was the first time in like 50 years that they traveled north of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, they don't want to go north, and you can't blame them. You look at Super Bowl winners over the last 40 years. How many dome teams have won a Super Bowl? The Colts, the Saints, LA Rams. There's probably one I'm forgetting in there, but like 3 or 4 in the last 30 years, probably something like that. I mean, there is something to be said for playing outside in cold weather, and those southern teams don't want to come north. So I feel like the good thing about the playoff, we're nitpicking about it, which we should, and they should be scrutinized. The good part is we might get these southern teams forced to travel north, whether they play in a Big Ten. This year, it looks like they're going to play in a lot of Big Ten stadiums and Notre Dame potentially, but there'll be years where maybe they have to go to Iowa State or Nebraska, Colorado, or some of these other schools, Utah, BYU, which are just as cold.
Now, unfortunately, Colorado has one too many losses, but Colorado is the intriguing one in the Big 12. If there is a chance to get 2 teams in the Big 12, we got to have Colorado. Colorado's the one because of